I tell you, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church. Words we have this morning from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 16, 13 to 19. You know, life is all about making decisions and choices. And sometimes as human beings, we may make horrible choices. Or we may take actions that we may not be proud of at the end. Recognizing that we have made a horrible choice is one thing. Dealing with a horrible past is a different ballgame. Today, the solemnity of Saints Peter and Paul, we celebrate the two most outstanding heroes of our religion. Interestingly, both of them had horrible pasts. But today, they are not just saints of God in heaven, but two of them are classified, if there's something like that, as first-class saints. We remember vividly the story and character of St. Peter, the head of the apostles. He betrayed his master and denied him 3 good times. At various places in the Bible, he demonstrated his impulsive personality. Paul, on the other hand, as a Jew, was a religious fanatic who championed the persecution and killing of Christians. In today's vocabulary, Paul may not just be classified or defined as a murderer or as a persecutor, but more as a terrorist because of the atrocities he committed. Indeed, these two gentlemen had horrible things they did in the past. But one thing is certain, they never allowed themselves to be trapped by their failures or by their past. And both of them also never pretended that their past didn't exist. They acknowledged their past at different points. Peter, when he realized what he did, he went out and wept. Paul, in different ways through his writings, often referred to himself as the former persecutor of the church. Indeed, we may not always erase our past, but like Peter and Paul, we can choose not to become prisoners of what we have done in the past. We can also choose, like them, not to allow whatever we did in the past to determine our future. Because no matter what we did, we are far more than that. But sometimes as human beings, we find ourselves struggling to move away from the past. And often, despite our efforts and intention to move away from whatever we did in the past, certain things don't actually enable us to move away. They militate against such desire or determination. And one of them is the society, our society today. Unfortunately, we have got a society that hardly forgives or forgets. Indeed, there are persons, many people in our communities, who must have done horrible things in the past, but they have genuinely repented, and they're making effort to build a better future for themselves, to grow, to become better. But the society refuses to acknowledge their conversion and their repentance. The society refuses to see the effort they are making. The society refuses to see their growth. The society refuses to see their determination to make life better for themselves. No matter how hard they try, the society will always find a way to remind them of what they did many years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Their names are perpetually in the system or on the website, as ex-convicts, ex-murderer, ex-addict, ex-whatever. So that when you type their names, red flags everywhere. For what? For what they did 30 years ago. Nobody considers the effort they are making to build a new life. Let's take, for example, a man was convicted of murder in this area. And we all know he murdered so many persons. So he was sent to prison. And after serving his imprisonment or his terms in the prison, he came back and started joining us for mass here. And we all know his history. When you see him as a person, how many of us will embrace him with an open arms? The first thing is suspicion. Wow, what is doing here? And if he becomes regular in morning masses, every day coming to mass in the morning, I know most of you, out of your good heart and good concern, will call me, "Oh, Father Nathaniel, you need to be careful of that man who comes to mass every day." No, you need to be careful. He was a murderer, and you need to tell the police that he comes around now. And please lock your doors very well and look after yourself. Can such a person actually become a saint in our today's world? Will the society ever agree that such people can ever become a saint, publicly pronounced saints, even when we see their efforts? If St. Paul belonged to this generation and to our society and committed the same atrocities, do you think that the society will allow the church to proclaim him a saint, his remarkable conversion notwithstanding? If Peter belonged to this generation and to our society, do you think that he will easily secure a job out there or be entrusted with a leadership position, considering what he did in the public against his master, even when he has shown remorse? I was having a jolly conversation with my immediate elder brother 3 days ago. You know, this brotherly gossip, we do it a little time, to keep life going. So we started talking about a particular man in our neighborhood in the village. And he said to me, "Oh, I'm pretty sure that man must be wasting away and also be suffering at the deepest and the hottest part of hell." I said, "For what?" He said, "For all the atrocities he committed in the village, for so many people he killed." I said, "Yes, but shortly before he died, he went to the church and repented." He told me, no, that is not enough. That man must be in hell by this time." I said, "Be careful, because on the last day, he might be the one to open the door for you in heaven." He said to me, no. If I see him there, I will run back. That was my brother's thought. But his thought represents the mentality of our today's society. Yes, that man did a lot of evil. But the society has already labeled him, so he can't go to heaven. He can't become a saint. The lives of St. Peter and Paul invites us today to reflect on whether we still, as Christians, still believe in the transforming power of God's mercy and grace, or whether we keep perpetually defining people by their worst mistakes and by their past. The church proclaimed Peter and Paul saints, and today we celebrate them because the church recognizes that our past is not enough to define us. The church recognized that these gentlemen, yes, they made horrible choices at a point in their lives and did things that were quite abominable. But after that, they were able to build, to grow. And the church sees the improvement they made, the tremendous improvement they made. The church today celebrates them because the church believes that God has the capacity to write a beautiful story out of our horrible past. And therefore, friends, The feast of St. Peter and Paul reminds us that the saints are not people with perfect past, but people who allow themselves to be transformed by God's mercy and love. And that makes it easier for all of us, because it becomes therefore that each one of us here is a bona fide candidate for sainthood. No matter how horrible the past has been, it is not enough to determine our future, especially our eternal destiny, if we only can allow God to transform us as he did for Peter and Paul. Today we are celebrating two people who moved away from what they did and were able to build a wonderful future. Unlike my brother, who insisted that no matter how that man tried at the last, but because of his past, he can't make heaven. I just want to believe that the many people here or who are hearing this, who are being considered, have been labeled by the society as if they're not going to be better, please keep making efforts. Sometimes the society may not see our efforts, but God sees it all. The society may keep labeling us as ex-convicts, ex-murderer, ex-addict, ex-whatever. If they did that for St. Peter and Paul, they wouldn't be saints today. May God give us the grace to imitate these two gentlemen who lived a life away from their past.